Sana Media House.
They manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that.
I was once your typical wannabe African American, thinking my ancestors were forced to come to America and work for the white man. The older I grew, the more connected I became to this ideology. I started wearing a necklace of the continent of Africa. I started watching lots of YouTube videos of vlogs in West Africa to see what it was really like. I even went to the Odunde Festival, which is an annual West African-based festival held here in Philadelphia. At this time, I was completely ignoring the fact that I was always told I have some American Indian blood. My maternal grandmother, who I call Grammy, has always told me that my grandfather, who my mother and I have never met, was 100% American Indian. My mother never even saw a picture of him, and no one ever met him outside of my grandmother. Outside of this connection, my paternal great-grandfather always claimed to be half Indian as well, American Indian. He knew his mother was 100% American Indian, and the thing is about him is he has the quote-unquote look. A lot of moments in my life, I myself was questioned if I was part American Indian, and I would say yes. I learned a lot about the Iroquois tribe as a child, and in the art-based private school I attended for first through third grade. My teacher had my class make a longhouse, which was in a sense like an apartment-style living for the Iroquois tribe, which held family members and other members of the Iroquois. It was about the size of a football field, so that's how many people were held within this community. Our mother had a few dream catchers in our house and informed me on the Cultural American Indian meeting behind them. I had a turquoise suede one in my bedroom, and there was another one in her room and in the dining room. This was just my foundation and the info I had on the Indian blood within me, the American Indian blood. I never went around proudly claiming what I knew for a fact to be a part of me, only when someone specifically asked me. That's basically the only time I would share this information. Maybe it's because many of our people have been shunned for claiming that they are at least part American Indian, because society has programmed us for this purpose. In fact, this programming has been passed on through many generations. Our elders have been silenced out of fear of a variety of judgments, which are some really unfortunate facts. So in this part 1 series of the unspoken truth of the African American, I first would like to break down the now popular DNA testing that popular sites like Ancestry.com and 23andMe and others like that have been promoting for the past decade. From what I see, this is one of the many horrific lies that has spread throughout the West. In order for one to trace their ancestors' lineage to a certain geographical location, they will literally have to dig up about 9 of your great-grandparents' graves to test the DNA on their skeleton in the lab to identify, what type of blood that they have and where they were buried at on top of that, and where their parents came from, and so on and so forth. That's the only way to actually have an accurate detection of where one's ancestors specifically comes from. They also obviously have to know where your grandparents have been buried to do this, and 9 times out of 10, you don't even know where your 5th grade grandpa and grandma are buried, so why would they? These ancestry tests is one of the most horrific lies currently in circulation. Here's some proof on this being straight cat.
When Oprah was finally in the first series, and we gave her DNA test, basically the next day she went to South Africa to announce that she was opening what became the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy. She was in an auditorium like 75,000 people or something, and she announced that she just had the test and that she was Zulu. So it broke on CNN. I was sitting in my living room minding my own business and said, Oprah Winfrey's a Zulu. So I called Rick Kittles, and I said, Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick Kittles, co-founder and scientific director of African Ancestry.
You tell Oprah she was a Zulu? He goes, no, man, she made that up herself. It's a true story. It's a true story. I would lie to make you laugh, but I'm telling you a true story. So I said, Rick, are you in your lab? He said, yeah. I said, is anybody there? He said, no. I said, when the results come in, make her Zulu, man. You know? I said, you back there making it up anyway. Don't nobody believe you could take some spit and figure out a tribe? What are you, crazy? Don't nobody believe you could take some spit and figure out a tribe? What are you, crazy?
What's called a SNP test from 23andMe, that's much more questionable.
You've looked at several of these companies that are doing these tests.
Yes.
Do you think that they explain what you just explained to us?
No, I don't think any of them does as good a job of pointing out the limitations. But, you know, businesses often don't go around telling you how weak their product is.
We don't oversell. I mean, we just say, look, we provide a service. If you're interested in exploring a tiny bit of your DNA and trace its ancestry, we can do that.
When you say it's a tiny little amount,
It's less than 0.1%.
and that's pretty teeny.
It's less than 0.1%.
And that's pretty teeny.
23andMe or Ancestry DNA. You know, those genetic tests where you spit in a tube and they tell you whether you're 4% South Asian or 95% Danish. But what happens to your spit after you mail it off? DNA testing kits are booming. Last year, on Black Friday weekend alone, Ancestry DNA sold roughly 1.5 million kits. That's about triple what it sold in the same period in 2016. When you spit into a test tube, you end up giving away very sensitive information about yourself. We're guessing you didn't read the fine print, so we'll let an attorney summarize it.
When you sign up for one of these tests and you click on the agree to the terms of conditions, you are giving away substantially all of your property and privacy and legal rights to this DNA.
Your DNA data reveals information about your behavior, the diseases you're predisposed to, and the relatives you didn't even know you had. It also reveals information about your family members, even if they didn't take a test. And if you agree to participate in research, you're not just allowing companies to trace your ancestry. You're allowing them to give your data to third parties. And it's not always clear who these third parties are or how secure your data is in their hands. Once you hand over the rights to your data, it can be hard to control what happens to it. If your results suggest, for example, that you're susceptible to heart disease, that could wind up affecting your insurance coverage.
If you have taken one of these consumer DNA tests and it indicates that you have a likelihood for cancer or you're predisposed to certain types of medical conditions, the insurance company can ask you about your knowledge of your own health. And if you lie to the insurance company, they are allowed to decline your application or rescind your application if they find out about it in the future.
Laws like the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act can help prevent some cases of discrimination based on DNA. But those laws have plenty of loopholes and are presently under siege by Republican lawmakers. So far, we haven't seen any public examples of genetic test results being abused. But that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. A lot of these risks are already spelled out if you read the fine print. But privacy advocates and lawmakers are working to get these companies to make the risks of DNA testing clearer to consumers. In the meantime, you might want to think twice before you spit into a test tube.
My mom and many others of my family have ignorantly sold their DNA to Ancestry.com and their partners just to be told that they're about 70% Nigerian. They love using Nigeria out of all countries in West Africa, but that's a discussion for another video. I hope you see now that these tests are for entertainment purposes only, just to say the least, okay? Because, you feel me, like, Lord only knows what they're doing to your DNA. Johns Hopkins University has stolen Henrietta Lacks's DNA cells for the purpose of medical use, and her cells are basically immortal, and they use them from creating polio vaccines to everything to cloning. So next, I must first expand on the truth of slavery and how we are not and never have been free. I'm going to repeat that. So now I'm going to expand on the truth of slavery and how we are not and never have been free since colonization in the late 1700s. This is very important, so much so I'm just going to end the video here and create a part 2 that you will see soon, okay? The unspoken truth of the African American is the fact that the African is actually a replacement misnomer word for Aboriginal. Aboriginal meaning the member of a race of people who are the first people to live in a country before any colonists arrived. The original people of that landmass, okay? That is the definition of Aboriginal. That's why, opposed to saying Native American, anybody that's born in America, no matter if they were a foreigner or whatever the case may be. Even if they weren't born in America and you just live in America, your address is based in America, you are a Native American. That's why I do not say Native American. The definition is completely different. You feel me? Aboriginal American is the most accurate way to describe who the original people of this landmass are, which are the now known as African American people. But we're not about to call ourselves African American. We're not about to call ourselves black. We're not about to call ourselves a color in or two continents, because that is a misnomer, and misnomer is inaccurate. And I don't like inaccuracy, and neither do y'all, because everybody always says that they hate fake shit. They like real people. You feel me? They like real shit. They like real niggas and real bitches and all of the other type of stuff. You feel me? So we're going to be accurate over here. The 1828 Webster's Dictionary of the word American is a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Understand that the average white person that lives in America, whose ancestors have been here for a few hundred years, or maybe not, regardless, they on paper are just titled as an American. Us on paper, we are titled as an African American. We're not over here calling them European Americans. We're not calling them English Americans or French Americans or none of that type of BS. But we do that with us when none of us is from Africa. You feel me? And this series is just me breaking down in little pieces of how this is all a cat, and y'all gotta wake up. All that Pan-African shit is dead. We leaving that in the past. You feel me? That's way dead and gone. And anybody that's hopping on that train now, I don't know why they doing that, but let them be. Let them die on that train by themselves. You feel me? We on to this real shit. This is the age of information, and we go understand what's really going on out here.
He knew his grandmother, Elizabeth Redmond, and he said she was a full-blooded Cherokee.
Like almost all African Americans I know, my relatives are convinced that we have Native Americans in the family.
This is Lucy's sister, and she had hair down to her knee. I thought she looked, like a Native American.
And that's, like I said, that was my mom, and she wore 70s headbands.
Oh, that's your mom?
In the 70s.
Oh,
she
your
looked
mom's
like,
cool.
Everyone thought she was Native American.
I have a little Choctaw Indian in my background.
She looked like an Indian woman. She looked like, like straight off the prairie.
They talk about the cheekbones and.
Yeah, you do have high cheekbones.
Yeah.
She always had long black hair, and so that's Indian.
Tina grew up believing that two of her grandparents were part Native American.
But you're only 1% Native American. You know how your family has always thought that you had all this Native American heritage?
Yes.
It was white heritage that you had.
All this time I've been thinking Indian. I was dying to find out what tribe it was.
You're from the tribe of Europe.
And I'm 3% Native American. So I got just a little Indian in me.
You got a little Indian in you.
0% Native American. And 0% Native
There
American.
you go.
And 0% who were Native American.
We're going to have to tell the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma now that I misrepresented myself. I'm not Choctaw at all,
And you'll see there's no figure for Native American because you ain't got no Native American.
Set the record straight.
Even Don Cheadle, who we would expect to have some Native American ancestry
From
because
that background.
Yeah, because of the connection to the Chickasaw, members of your family owned
by Native Americans.
Did y'all see this man Henry Louis Gates Jr. lie to his family and all of these talented Aboriginal American celebrities about their own bloodline? He is one of the most evil coons currently in existence. He works for Harvard University as the director of Hutchins Center for African and African American Research. So you already know who he's tied in with. They have an agenda to adhere to. It's crucial that you understand the government, these corporations, institutions, and all aspects of the mass media. Everything really goes hand in hand, okay? They will never stop attempting to brainwash us. They don't want us to comprehend the truth, because if we collectively truly did, we'd all rebel. And that's the last thing that they want. It'll never truly happen. We're all too far gone, to be honest. Like, as a collective, I at moments have hope, but I know what was prophesized. So, like Michael Jackson said in the beginning of this video, the history books are lying. Y'all gotta understand how powerful the media is, okay? Media is very powerful. That's why you don't realize you're a slave, because the media controls you more than the quote-unquote slave master. You feel me? It was never a real slave master. The slave master was your motherfucking manager. You feel me? It's like you got a manager now if you're not an entrepreneur. You a slave, my nigga. You paying taxes on anything. You a slave. Fuck is you giving them your bread for? You even know who your taxes is going to? You think that shit going to the city, to the schools, and all this other shit to fix your shit up? Nigga, they could print money out of thin air to give Ukraine billions of dollars every few months since this alleged war has started. Why can't he give that to you? Why can't he give that to you in reparations? Y'all know it's the truth. Like Dane Calloway says, I'm just here to make you think. You feel me? And real life think. Real life think though. That's why this video is going to be, not super long. Because you need to think on everything that was just said here.
The history books are not true. It's a lie.
And, tune back in soon when I got the next one. Leave a comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. Love y'all. Mwah. Sana Media House. Like it or love it. Sana Media House.